Overcoming Adversity podcast. I'm your host, Michael Allison. Today's guest is Angela Marshall. She's a motivational speaker, an author, and an ex-NFL wife. She's here to talk about her story of how she overcame adversities in her life, and now she's empowering women. I can't wait to get into this conversation. Let's go. Hey, Angela, welcome to the Overcoming Adversity podcast. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Hello, and thank you so much for having me, the opportunity to connect. I appreciate it, and I am so stoked and excited about talking about this huge word, adversity, right?
Yeah, man. I was looking at the books and the titles that you for the books you've written, and some of the things that you've been through in your life. And I can imagine being an ex-NFL wife comes with a lot of pressure of just playing that role. And I think about it as, I could see from afar a distance when some women have to make certain types of sacrifice. If you can, tell us a little bit about your story and some of the things that you've been through.
Absolutely. Again, thank you so much. I appreciate this enormous opportunity to connect with your viewers and your audience. Overcoming adversity. Wow. I don't care whether you are a mother, a father, an NFL player, NFL wife, or whatever, a child. There is an enormous amount of adversity continuously and constantly bombarding you in life.
Right.
And such was the case with me. I will go on ahead and I will fast forward to that particular area in my life because that actually sets the foundation for me now.
Okay.
As a former, as an NFL wife, I had no idea that liking myself more than others liking me would serve to be so pivotal in a lot of lessons, right? So being able to just grow and just glean from different things that surround that world or a facade of that world. Let me put this disclaimer out there. NFL world is not bad. NFL lifestyle is not bad. This isn't a bashing of my husband, my ex-husband, any of the players. I will not be telling any secrets. I will not be disclosing gossip and rumors and all of that craziness. That is not what my platform is about. I am about solely telling the story and life of an ex-NFL wife. And the main thing that I learned while in that life/lifestyle is I have to be authentic to myself. And if you're not authentic to yourself, you definitely, I don't care what your life, surrounds or how whatever comes at you, you will not be able to absorb it appropriately, face it, and then move on. You won't be able to do that. Is very difficult. And especially as it relates to coming from a basic or foundation of not really knowing myself, and then you get thrown into the spotlight, so to speak.
Right.
And it just becomes great. It becomes greater that you don't really know who you are. You don't know what you want. You don't know why you want it in life, and the chaos and everything else just kind of ensues. But I will honestly say that without that adversity, and yes, it was. Now, there were some advantages and definitely blessings in that lesson and in that moment in time for my life. But overall, overcoming that, adversarial stage in my life was the greatest thing ever because now I'm able to just, show people a better way of living with tips and tools to live vicariously through yourself. That world, along with other worlds like it with people in position of power, it has a tendency to want you to live vicariously through others. But I'm exhorting people to live vicariously through yourself.
So let me ask you this question. I want to unpack that a little bit because, a lot of people when they see celebrities or they see guys that's playing in NFL, we see that they have a certain lifestyle and how things unfold for them, right? And we think that they have like everything is great and they have no issues and they have no problems. You mentioned that you kind of lost yourself a little bit. If we could peel that onion back a little bit, can you tell us what were some of the things that you were facing or some of the things that you were going through that made you catch yourself and start questioning things and looking at things like, is this really me?
For one, when you're not your authentic self, you don't feel well. You don't
Hmm.
feel well mentally. You don't feel well emotionally. And then sometimes it can cross over into the physical aspect as well. And what I noticed is that the more I tried to be this chameleon, whether it was this person's wife, okay, well, now they're giving me input on this or that. So now I got to try to be this. And then over here, it's another person's wife or another person's husband or whatever. Each one had different expectations and different perspectives and insight on what the lifestyle should be or what your life should look like, even down to the children, which was so
Wow.
crazy to me, right?
Wow.
So, and again, this isn't bashing. This isn't a, like the life or the lifestyle was so horrific, because it wasn't. The life was phenomenal. Um, what was not was just, there were just certain things within me that I needed to be more seated. I needed to be more aware of. I needed to be more aligned, and I was not. I did not have that opportunity. I met my ex-husband very young. We had children very early, very young. And I just didn't have the opportunity to grow like I needed to.
Hmm.
So once I started weighing, like, I'm feeling really disconnected. I feel chaotic in certain situations. Whenever something was told to me that I needed to be this, or I wasn't quite that, or in order to be a wag, a wife and girlfriend, as they call them, of professional athletes, you have to look this way and walk this way and talk and whatever else. I felt so incomplete. I felt divided all the time. I mean, like, I was getting headaches. And again, I'm not saying because the input that I was getting from different people, because here's the thing, people, at any given time, you are in 100% control of your actions, of your life, whether to do or not to do, to have or not to have. So it wasn't, now that I know better, I know that it was not them. It
Right.
wasn't, that person's wife saying, hey, well, maybe wear your hair like this, or maybe do this, or well, we got to do this, or the children need to, wear whatever. I remember a particular incident, and I'll just end that question with this. Our son, I think he was like 5 at the time, maybe. And I don't know about your children, but he was into these Ninja Turtle light up shoes.
Uh-huh.
Okay. And he really, like, we were going to this event and he really wanted to wear these Ninja Turtle light up shoes. So, of course, I told him, hey, put the Ninja Turtle light up shoes on. My ex at the time was like, I don't want him wearing that. Let him wear the new Jordans that we just bought him.
Uh-huh.
You see where I'm going with
Yeah,
it?
yeah, 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 yeah.
So, but he's a kid. Like, he's
He's a kid.
6. He's 5. To him, the Ninja Turtle light up shoes were like, that's it. Those were the equivalent of Jordans.
It
But
was. Right.
it's the image.
Hmm.
And again, I'm not saying this isn't a bash against people that wear Jordans, because we wear them, we support them, we buy them. I have grandchildren now, grandsons that love them. But what I'm saying is that frame of mind, like, instead of allowing my son or our son to be authentically him, like he picked out his
Correct.
outfit, he was content with it. I mean, like, what was the big deal other than, well, other people are going to be there, and this is the stigma, this is the stereotype, this is the expectations. They're going to be Jordan out, Gucci down, Dior down, whatever the case is. And that can be very mentally damaging.
Wow. I'm listening to you, and I always talk about decision, direction, and destination, and how all three of those have to be aligned. And whenever those aren't aligned, we kind of could get lost and get out of alignment, and then we need to find ways to realign ourselves. I can imagine, as like a kid wanting to do this, but now being told something else, and that could carry with them for a very long time as they're, you know, in that boat now and start questioning different things in regards to how I should be, just like yourself was kind of doing the same thing too as well. You know, I want to ask this question: how was your life before this? Because it seems like all of a sudden you just got like dropped into this lifestyle and there was no prep.
Well, to be honest, is there any prep for anything in life?
That's true. That's
You
true.
know, I mean, even now as an adult with mentors, and I think that I'm pretty successful with different things, there's still like preparation and planning like galore. Like I never achieve or arrive where I think I've achieved or arrived at. But my life prior to, I grew up in modest beginnings. I was actually reared by my grandparents.
Hmm.
Very, again, modest beginnings, humble beginnings, had just the basic needs met. So it's one of those things where you go from, this level of what they would call, I guess, potentially poverty line, which I didn't know. I didn't have a clue. All I knew is that I had, meals, hot meals, great meals, lights never cut off, phone. I had, all of my needs were taken care of. And I felt like I was living the life of Riley. Like my
Hmm.
life was so great. And then you go from that to, a life of a little bit more elaborate, or actually a lot more elaborate abundance of things. And it's just, it's definitely a mental switch where I feel like two things will happen. Either one, you become very, very thankful and you understand where you came from. And now you have to make some adjustments and then bring those morals and values that you've learned from that, from that basic, that foundational life, and be okay. Or
Right.
you're thrown into it and it's like, oh, wow, maybe become wasteful in certain areas, or not necessarily being true to yourself. I was the latter. I was not necessarily being true to myself. And again, not because of any person, place, or thing. Wasn't because of the NFL lifestyle. Wasn't because of NFL because my ex-husband made all this money. It was purely and solely me. Because there are things during that whole journey that would have helped me to become a better me. But because I was in a place that was so, I don't know, disconnected isn't the word that I want to use, but I think because I was so just off, like I was imbalanced in a lot of places, it it just didn't serve me well at that time. Like my ex-husband thrived in the life and the lifestyle, but his upbringing, who he was, being centered as a person, being focused, was totally different than me.
Let me ask this question. Did you get any pressure when you had that transition? As in, you came from humble beginnings and now you're um, put into this, thrust into this new lifestyle. When you went through that transition, was there any stressors that came from family members? Was there any stressors that came from outside influence, from people that knew you before to the people that know you now? Because I could imagine if that was another additional stressor into that lifestyle, made you question a lot of things too as well.
I'm going to be completely honest. The only difference was it became greater. And it wasn't
Mm,
about because it was NFL lifestyle. I mean, okay, I'm getting ready to get totally, totally real. I grew up in an environment and a household, family, all of the organizations was African American.
mm,
So here you have this light skinned person that's amongst the African American community. And that was in the 70s, early 70s during that time.
mm.
So there was already, I mean, a huge amount of stress, whether it was they thought that I thought that I was better than what I was because of being light skinned, having a different texture hair. We do not use the word good hair because there's no such thing as good hair. I am on a mission also, like I am with helping people to live vicariously through themselves. I'm on a mission to help eradicate the term good hair. That is a slave mentality. It is wrong. And it is a societal cliche that is awful. So because I had a different texture of hair, light color eyes, and at the time now, was the only light skinned one coming up in this family, African American family, like my religious background, everything. Like I usually was the lightest one in everything, whether it was school functions, church functions, whatever. So there was a minor amount, a moderate amount of stress there with that. Not to mention, once you throw in the NFL, which my ex at the time, and I'm gonna give him a lot of accolades and kudos right now. He actually was high school. He was the man as far as like athletics was concerned. He matriculated and graduated, earned his degree from University of Georgia. Outstanding football player there. So he's always been in the line, in the spotlight, right, in the limelight. So once he went, to the NFL, then of course, then what do you get? Oh, well, of course he chose her. She's lighter than a brown paper bag. She looks like the norm for what they go for. I mean, it was never ending. Okay. It was never ending. So again, that's why your podcast and your platform, and not just because of this isn't a woe is me, this isn't a cry. I was never a victim. I didn't know that then, but I definitely know that now. Your podcast, Overcoming Adversity, is so crucial and so critical, not just from people going from this level and achieving where there's more money, more power, a greater position or whatever. Like you just have to, at all levels, you have to learn how to train and strengthen your brain so that you can overcome even the smallest issue in your life, because I think sometimes we're trained to either become hard-hearted or sweep things under the rug and not deal with it. And adversity has a way, it's like karma, baby. Karma and adversity is equal. Like karma's coming back and adversity is coming back if you don't deal with it.
So, speaking of that, for someone that's been through their own fair share of adversities, I do know that it creates a resilient type of mindset to deal with things and face things in life. And with that being said, I now know that you're someone that's taking your story to making an impact, right? You're telling stories, you're writing books, you're inspiring people on stage. Can you talk a little bit about some of the things that you got going on and some of the missions that you stand for as well?
Absolutely. The main mission in life is to inspire and to positively impact and influence through my words, my work, and my wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
One sentence, one is a one liner, because to me that encompasses everything, especially when I talk about words, work, and wisdom. I have to be very careful with how I speak, not only to others but to myself, what I believe. My work, I have to be very careful that I am actually uplifting and edifying people. And then as far as wisdom is concerned, that's just me being fully transparent and sharing, not just, as they say, what the Snapchat and Instagram pictures that have all the fluff and the great lighting and filters and all of that stuff, but it's me actually coming on being, just solely who I am and saying, you know what, today wasn't a good day, guys, or this happened or that happened. But hey, I'm going to reroute this thing. I'm going to repurpose it. I'm going to refocus, and we're just going to keep on keeping on until we reach the desired result, whatever that looks like. So it has been very, very challenging as it relates to overcoming adversity and just different things throughout my entire life. However, I am definitely stronger. I'm better. I'm wiser. I'm bolder. The main thing, oh my God, this just hit me. I'm freer. Mm-hmm. And most people don't understand that overcoming adversity and the truth, like when they say the truth will set you free, being able to face whatever that adversity is in life, not just from an NFL wife position or a wife, or maybe, because now my ex and I, we're divorced. Like there's so many different topics that I speak on, so many, there's so much content that I write about because I once was it. And then some of it, just to be honest, like I'm still going through stuff. I'm going through something right now, adversity, right now. And it's so funny how when you are out there in the public eye and people see you on different things, different platforms, or of course, the majority of my speech will be uplifting and it will be positive. They think like you're just this positive penny all the time, or like there's no downfalls or like I don't have something going on that I need to overcome right now. No, that's not it.
No.
But
Right.
I do believe that in sharing, whether it's my friends, oh my God, and I have such a wonderful support system and tribe and mentors, just people that I glean from that help me to continue to overcome in adversity. So it's not just about me. It's about having other people that I'm willing to sit at the feet and stand on the shoulders to overcome that adversity.
Absolutely. So, Angela, you mentioned that you went through a divorce, and if you could share what you can about what that was like, because obviously you're leaving the NFL lifestyle, you're leaving that culture, you're leaving that environment and total environment to now you're going to just navigate things on your own, or whoever you're going to do it with, whether it's through mentor, whether it's through coaching, whether it's through counseling. Can you take us through that transition for you, and what were some of the things and strategies that you put in place for you to get through that?
Well, first of all, there was no strategy. My whole world blew up again, which which again, I'm no different from anybody else. Like everyone, I believe, goes through periods where it's just like the bomb goes off and you have to start from ground zero.
Hmm.
And that was no different. I had no strategy in place other than I knew I needed to get a job of some sort, or I needed to do something to have an income, because at the time I had two children that were 9 and 11. Our son was 11, daughter was 9. And not only that, I wanted to become who I knew I could become. I wanted to become who I was created to become. And I knew that would not happen, and it could not happen if I was in the blame game of, okay, well, let me be bitter with my ex with certain situations that went on. I'm forthright and I'm honest. Our divorce was a function of him, my ex-husband, and myself. Now, it varies for what part he played and what part I played, but we both played a part, no doubt. And at some point, there was a decision made, like, I'm not going any further. I'm not going any further either. So this is what we need to do. So
Hmm.
now I've got to try to focus, recenter, rebalance, redirect Angela. And it was very, very difficult coming from, again, modest background, only having high school education and not feeling really prepared to take on the world like I can now. So I went through a lot of ups and downs. I was fortunate enough to have a friend, a best friend from childhood, that owned a temp agency that trusted in me enough and said, okay, I'm going to put you at this particular company and, do me proud. And I did. I can honestly say that was in 1999, 2000. I actually stayed, I was a temp initially with that company for 2 years. Then I became a full-time employee, and I was there until I resigned 17 years later.
Wow.
So hardships along the way, ups and downs, me trying to figure out how I'm going to pay trash bills, pay insurance bill. I mean, yeah, it was a very, very rough journey, but what it did along the way, and I know, what I'm going to say, people are going to be like, wow, I can't believe you just, gave kudos to your ex. This is how crazy my mind thinks. I go back to everything that he did, that he took care of 100% financially, that I never really gave him appreciation for, or that I took for granted.
Mm.
Because now I got a car note, I have insurance, I have light bill, phone. I mean, I got all of this stuff. And again, I'm not saying just because like that's all he was good for, because I actually there are a lot of principles, a lot of values that as an athlete, the resilience and different things that was infectious, that I want to believe that it definitely transpired to me, right?
Mm-hmm.
So along the way, I'm learning all of these things. I'm looking at him differently, looking at that whole situation differently. Like, wow, maybe I wasn't right in this argument or that, situation. Or, oh my God, that was so petty. That was so crazy to even be disagreeing or arguing about X, Y, Z, or taking him, putting his body, his mind, and everything else on the line every single day so that he, myself, and then our two children could have what he deemed was a great life.
Mm-hmm.
So it gave me a different perspective. And coming out from it and looking back, which is why I decided to write the book, The Story and Life of an Ex NFL Wife, Reality to Rags to Riches. I wanted people to understand that you can walk away from adversity better and not bitter.
I want to ask you something that I think is extremely important because for me, I know that mental health is a big deal for me, and to always putting things in perspective whenever I deal with some of the issues that I was dealing with before, or even deal with now. Kind of like you just said, like we all just don't get over things just like that. You know, to go through some of the things that you were dealing with, can you talk to our audience and share with them what was your state of mental health while you were going through this, right? And then were you very in any depressive states? Were you feeling any bit of stress or anxiety? And then saying if any of those things did occur, right? Well, what were some of the symptoms that you were dealing with? And then how did you cope? How did you get through this? How did you manage, right? Because I imagine to do some of these things, it does incorporate a little bit of a resilience to even do those things. For me, I say that because when I served in the military, we was taught very often to compartmentalize things and deal with things very fast, or put them in a box, or put them on shelves. So if you can tell us a little bit about what that was like for you to just go through that, because I know that you're a big mental health advocate now. So if you can tell us a little bit about that.
Well, first of all, me then, my mental health was trash, okay? Let's just be honest. I'm not going to sit before you or the audience, viewers, or my audience and viewers that will watch this like, oh my God, I was just so boom, 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 and had things in line, and I was just so perfect. There were days I cried from the time I got home from my employment at that time, having to turn my back while in the bed away from our children, because my two children eventually came with me after the divorce, not wanting them to see me cry. Not only that, putting on a face of strength and of, oh, I got it. I got this all together, whether it was in front of my friends or family members or whatever. So the mental health then was trash. Now, I will say what sustained me. I have I'm sorry, because my grandmother is now deceased, and my grandfather for that matter. I had an incredible grandmother. Kudos to Luella Stone. That is my grandmother.
Shout out to Louisville.
Phenomenal. Oh my God, phenomenal. Like, and I'm not saying all of her teachings were correct, but the foundation, and that's what I want people to get. Like the foundation that is instilled in you is just so important. And she was very resilient. You talk about making $1 out of 15 cents, or
Yeah.
being able to stretch things, or just going through things. Because I know the things that my grandmother went through, different family members went through, and how she was able to just pull it all together in the midst of her own storms. I saw that. And so I knew I had the capability to be that. I didn't know that I could do it, but I knew I had the capability to do it, because I had always been taught that the higher being, God, is no respecter of persons. So whatever he gave her, he gave me. Whatever is in someone else is in me. Whatever's in me is in someone else as well. I'm not special, you
Mhm.
know. So I went through the roller coaster of, I don't know, whatever the biggest roller coaster with dips and turns and the Batman to hang you all upside down and all of that stuff. Been there, done that. As time moved on and progressed, I started availing myself to mentors, to self help books, to conferences, forums, different things that were very critical and crucial that would uplift my spirit. And so once I started doing that, availing myself, not I became more resilient, but I also became more grounded and more balanced, more sure-footed. So even when I would have these attacks or these issues or problems, it might knock me down or it might bend me, but it wasn't going to break me. Like
Mm-hmm.
before, it's just like, oh, I'm broken. I gotta, pull in all these pieces. But now, maybe about 8 to 10 years after my divorce, so that would have been like around 2008, especially now, it's like, okay, I'm going to take this hit. I may even fall against the ropes, but you best believe, don't count me out.
That's right.
And the ref is not going to be in there like 10, 9, or 1 or what. That's not going to happen. We are going to overcome this and we're going to be better, not bitter. And then we're going to share our story. Like, I can't stress that enough, people. Sharing your story and sharing your testimony, whether it's the family members, friends, other co-workers, colleagues, connections, employees, employers, is so crucial because it helps people that otherwise see, the filters and the lifestyles, and they think, oh, everybody's life is so much better than mine. It connects all of us. And I think that's an important component of mental health. Because, if you think about it, if you think this person's life is so great and like they have it all together and it's just you, there's shame, there's doom, there's this gloom, and there's this component in there that
Right.
makes it harder for the person to overcome. So I just, like I said, I knew when I wrote the first book, which was Lust Lessons, Love and Life, and that's a compilation of poetry. It is nonfiction. And I'm just telling y'all, it is not for the faint of heart. It's a period of 8 years where I talk about everything from, you name it, lust, lessons, love, and life. And I think that's critical because you put things out there so that you can help yourself and then help other people. And then I wrote the second book, which is the story and life of an ex-NFL wife, to tell my story of struggles, success, trials, triumphs, just the growth factor, because I think that's so important. So many people kept coming to me and they would say, oh, I bet that life was there. Oh, I bet your life. I would trade to have your life. And it's like, no, trust me. You want your life exactly as it is, but you want to build on it so that you get better, you get bolder, you get wiser, and you get stronger. It's just it's so important.
So, based off of your life and your story, I'm listening and I've heard you went on the path of self-discovery. You went on the path of taking leadership and taking authority within your life to truly be your true authentic self. Can you share with our audience who were some impactful or some people that helped you make this pivotal decision or made this pivotal transformation? Was it coaches? Was it mentors? Was it counselors? Was it best friends? Was it accountability partners? Anything like that? Because I know for me, that's what helped me with my transformation. So was anybody a part of your journey while you was doing this?
Oh my God, it's all of the above, and it's still all of the above. I would say initially, I have to I have to give all kudos to the number one foundation bricklayer, and that would be my grandmother, Luella Stone. And even though a lot of the lessons and how I was brought up, I detested it. I was like, oh, I can't wait till I get grown. I'm not gonna do this. I'm not gonna do that. Just God, take her. Why is she so? Why is she so hard? But that's the first brick. That's the first stone, if you would, that I often fall back on. Then I have an incredible aunt that is like, good Lord, she's like an aunt, a mother, a sister, everything to me, that taught me tough love very, very early. I joke with my children now and I say, you guys have it easy, because when you need something, whether it's money or a problem solved, your dad and I, or different people, with their generation, we rush to enable them or
Right, right,
entitle them,
right,
so to
right.
speak. That wasn't the case with me. It was like, no, you caused this, you brought this consequence on, you are going to see it from beginning to end, and it's going to make you better. And it did. So my
Mhm.
aunt Deborah was very, very instrumental with that, as were all of the other players, such as, I have cousins, I have um, friends that have been best friends that have just been so instrumental in helping me to be my best self. And now I'm going to even say, like, my grandchildren, like, I learned from them. It's so crazy. Like, they help me to be better. I
Mhm.
mean, I learn from strangers. Like, I try to really understand that person's walk, that person's backstory, and try to incorporate it. Oh, okay, well, this is going to help me a little bit more seated, a little bit more grounded. And I think when you take that approach, that there is always learning, there's always something that you can grasp from someone to make you a better person, undoubtedly you become a better person.
1000%. So before we get out of here, what are some lessons that our listeners could take away from your story and your journey that you've been through?
I will say this, for these. One, you have to decide. You have to decide in whatever arena it is, whatever your problem, your issue, level, stage. I want to write the book. I want to be a preacher. I want to be a leader. I want to leave the job. I want to be an entrepreneur. You got to make a decision.
Yeah.
And once you make that decision, then you have to be determined. You have to put on in your brain, in your heart, in your soul, in your spirit, that no matter what, I am going to, whatever that decision is, I'm going to see it through. And here's the thing, sometimes seeing it through actually does mean aborting and then coming up with something else, or rerouting and then coming up with something else. But never is it, I'm just going to quit. I'm going to give up at this and then not put something else in its place. Doesn't work that way. So you got to decide. You got to be determined, and you got to deal. That's number three. You got to deal with all the adversity. Ooh, and I'm getting ready to hit you with something, and all the
What is
adversaries that come with it too. Ooh. So it's not just about the adversities, babies. It is all of the adversaries. Because trust me, to whom much is given, much is required. And that much entails, whether it's the societal word haters or doubters, naysayers. And
right.
sometimes, it's not just about enemies, extended enemies. It could be in your own camp, it could be close, it could be, in your crew, in your corner, as you say. So you have to deal no matter what, and be okay with that. Don't sweep things under the rug, deal with it. And then the destination. The destination to me is love, happiness, peace, and joy. It's not about that materialistic thing, or that, like for me, I want to be on different stages to where I can speak globally. That's like great, and that's great vision for me. But to get there, it's speaking my truth. It's making sure that I'm honest and I'm genuine and I'm authentic enough to where I hold myself accountable to be all that I've said that I'm going to be. That's the true destination. It's not, to me, it's not about, getting a check. It's commas and zeros or book sales and whatever else. That's great. That's going to happen anyway. But to me, the true destination is, am I happy? Am I living? Am I joyful? Is there peace, inner peace, not external peace? Because there's always
Mm.
going to be chaotic movement and discord and dysfunction. But that peace that truly, truly, truly surpasses everything else is when you understand that, as long as I have that peace inside of me, I don't care what else is in the workings amongst me. So put them 4Ds in action: decide, determination, deal, and then destination, and you'll be just fine at overcoming adversity.
Angela, thank you so much for sharing those lessons with us. I know that will be such an impact to our listeners. I was thinking about it, and if people were to just align all four of these, how much the outcome of their life would be so much better, because it's actually helps define what adversity is, because you're going to have the good and the bad, but you still have to persevere through all of these things that you deal with when you get to aligning these four things you just talked about.
You will never possess what you are unwilling to pursue. And in the pursuit of whatever it is that you want to possess, there is good, there's bad, there's happy, there's sad, there's ups, there's downs, there's highs, there's lows. Like there is nothing. I don't care what it is: marriage, materialistic relationships, kinships, partnerships, whatever opportunity or whatever goal you can see or you can visualize, there is always going to be adversity, and there's always going to be adversaries. But don't focus on that. You focus on you, and then you'll overcome the adversity and adversaries.
Absolutely. So, Angela, if anybody wanted to get a hold of you or work with you in the future, how can they find you?
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
I don't know if you can tell, but this is a topic that is near and dear to my heart, and is definitely needed as it relates to mental and emotional and physical well-being and health. So thank you again. My website is www.inotherwordsbystone.com. I'm on social media, Angela Marshall, Story and Life of an Ex-NFL Wife. Or you can just Google, for all of you Googlers, you can Google Angela Marshall, Augusta, Georgia. And that's a few ways that you can get in touch with me. So thank you again.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Angela, for being here and being a guest. Guys, if you like this episode, make sure you leave a comment, but make sure you share it with a family and a loved one. Until next time, God bless.
Can't complain at all. Couple dollars in my pocket, no income and go. Been working on my body, getting healthier. Thank God for clarity.